And we're live on the HR Stories pod. We're live, John. Live and ready to rumble.
You're getting your voice on. Getting your practice, your voice on. It's spring, Chuck. It's spring up here. I know you down there in the Keys, probably not getting any differential before your 80 beautiful sunny day every day that you get, but it's spring here. The flowers are blooming, the trees, leaves are coming out. We're very excited to be here.
It is exciting. And speaking of spring and freshness, you and I were talking off air about refreshing the HR Stories podcast, bringing in some new angles with a few new storylines and guests and just some real fun stuff. So, folks, if you're a fan of the HR Stories podcast, stick around because we've been working on some listener feedback. We've got some ideas. And look for some little adjustments and we're going to change it up a little bit. We're still going to keep the HR, but we're going to be talking about leadership. We're going to be talking about work. We're going to have some guests, and we're still obviously going to have a story. So very excited about some of those little changes.
Can you see Sam's face? Sam's like, what?
Sam, our producer's probably hearing this for the first time. She's like, what in the world are the boys doing now?
Wait on the producer. Wait on the producer. What are you guys doing to me?
Sam, you're fine. It's going to be all good.
It'll be fine. Don't panic. We'll take care of you. That typical leadership, right? Leadership makes a decision and forgets to tell the team.
Well, speaking of decisions, John, why don't you decide where we are going today?
Well, I thought we would go to the West Coast in a little land called Hollywood Land.
Hooray for Hollywood, John. Hooray.
All right. Hollywood Land, right? Remember it used to say Hollywood Land and then the land fell away? Literally? Right? And so, anyway, so we're going to Hollywood.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great place. A lot of interesting employment and employee stories certainly begin and sometimes end in court. Obviously, we're talking about California, right?
Yeah, but before we get into the story, I have to confess something, Chuck, from
What?
my own past.
Okay, I like it.
I was an intern. And so I was an intern for a regional theater, what we called Way Off Broadway, a regional theater. And I worked there for, I think it was a summer. I ended up working there for 10 years, but my internship, I think, was just one summer. And I did it, right, because you want to do it. I was thrilled to have the internship. I was excited because I got to work on professional productions, right? I'd always done college stuff, and so I hadn't really had that. And so I wanted to understand it. I wanted to learn how that was going. In fact, Chuck, as an aside, we just saw 12th Night at the American Shakespeare Festival. Fantastic production.
Shout out to the American Shakespeare production and their 12th Night cast.
It was good. Fantastic. So I thought it was a great opportunity. But here's what the interesting part was. They paid me, are you ready for this, Chuck?
Yeah, sure.
$15 a week.
Yeah, that's not bad. $15 an hour. I mean, back then that would have been like 30,000. What?
A week, Chuck. A week.
Okay. I thought that's what you said, but I thought, well, maybe you screwed something up here, and I didn't hear it correctly.
It was a week. It was a week, and it was the only reason they gave me $15 was to pay for my gas between my house, my mom's house, and the place.
All right, and maybe some lunch?
No, it was all gas, right? And here's the funny part. I wasn't just observing rehearsals or learning about the theater business. I was actually doing the work of a stage carpenter and electrician.
Yeah, gotcha. So you just weren't shadowing the crew. It sounds like you actually might have been the crew, correct?
I wasn't the only one there being on the crew. We had a team of 3 or 4. We were doing, we did a bunch of plays that summer. We were working like 60-hour work weeks. Sometimes we were working till like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
We were working. Like, it wasn't like I'm like, oh, let me sit in rehearsals and see what's going on. I was working.
Yeah, and that today would raise definitely some serious HR questions. And I got to tell you, throughout my career, I've always had, and it seems to come from sales and marketing department, not so much anymore. People seem to be a little more educated. But, hey, Chuck, we need some extra staff. I don't have a budget. Can I get a few interns in here?
Oh, great. Yeah. Right. And so that comes up, right? And it comes up all the time. It's like, we want more help. We need more help. How can we do it on a budget? So look, I was really excited to be around the theater. And so I wasn't thinking HR. Like I was just...
Of course, yeah.
I don't think I was out of college yet. I was still in college, so I wasn't really thinking about the ramifications. I was just doing it. But if we look at that situation today and think about the Fair Labor Standards Act, we're probably going to ask a lot of different questions.
Yeah, and the question could be, was it really an internship? Was it a job? That question came up, I think, I know where you're going, in the Hollywood story that we're about to talk about today, the Hollywood internship. We need dramatic music. Can Samantha throw some dramatic music in there?
Do you have those little buttons that where you can hit things and make
I do. I'm going to see if I can find them as we go along here. So, all right. So this is the Hollywood internship story.
So Chuck, go back in your memory. Do you remember the movie The Black Swan?
The Black Swan.
Yeah, it was a dance movie. It was about a ballerina who fought her way up. It was very... boom.
Okay, did that work?
No.
Sorry, okay.
Bad timing.
Sorry. Oh, man, my timing.
It's all about timing. And so it was this great movie. I remember watching. It was a fantastic movie. But there was a group of interns who landed positions working on this film.
So it's not it's an actual film.
Yeah.
And it was, so the interns, it wasn't a group of interns in the film. It was interns that worked in the film. So yeah, okay, got it. So they're trying to break in the movie business. That sounds like an opportunity of a lifetime, right?
Think about the competition for those internships, right? So you're in there and you're like, I want to go work on this film. And they're like, okay, we're going to get these interns. We're going to have one for each department, right? So they were really excited about that. And so that's what they thought. They were very excited. One intern later described their expectations something like this. I thought I was going to learn how to make movies. I thought we'd be observing producers, seeing how decisions got made, maybe getting exposures to the creative process.
And instead, I'm afraid, this is PG, maybe PG-13. So what were the interns on this Hollywood production doing?
Not that bad. They were making copies,
Okay.
paperwork, taking lunch orders, and running errands.
Yeah, okay. Let me guess. They were saying something like, someone says, I didn't go to film school to learn how to use a copy machine.
Right, and in fact, in film school, you don't learn that. No, I'm just kidding. Right, and so, but now, think about it from the employer's perspective. Internships have been part of the entertainment industry for decades. I remember back, again, I was in the theater, but I remember, like, everyone was trying to get their internships, trying to get in there.
Yeah.
Because you're building those credits up.
Yeah, so I guess the mindset is kind of like, hey, this is how people pay their dues, get their foot in the door. This is how I had to do it, so you got to do it type of thing, correct?
I've heard that, right? I heard that voice, and everyone, I'm like, well, I had to do it, so you had to
Oh, well, that's right.
Eventually, these interns, right, talking to each, asked a simple question. If we're doing work employees normally do, should we be getting paid? Which led to the lawsuit.
Yes, gotcha.
They filed a lawsuit under the Fair Labor Standards Act.
Okay, so they're interns, but they're smart enough to know. Well, hey, look, I don't know. Maybe it's a generational thing. It's smarter than the average bear thing. But I get it. That's probably started as a dispute involving a few interns, correct? Did they all participate? Or tell me about that.
Yeah, so because once the lawsuit became public, interns across the media and entertainment industries, all the people in Hollywood, started asking the same question.
Aha, yes. Sounds like a shock wave. We'll call it the industry shock wave. And let me guess, suddenly the lawsuits started spreading.
Yeah. So major media companies were facing challenges to their internship programs. Film studios, television network, magazine, published companies all were kind of getting out and looking at that, and it was causing this ripple effect. And it hit Condé Nast, the company behind magazines like Vogue, GQ, and the New Yorker, and they're like, you know what? We've relied on unpaid interns for years.
Yes.
But after the lawsuit started gaining attention, the company made a dramatic decision. What do you think they did?
I bet you they started paying their interns lots of money, minimum wage at least, correct?
They bought a car too. It was amazing. Yeah,
my guess is, they shut it down, right? They just shut it down. They got internship scared, right?
Yeah,
phobia.
Overnight, they're just like, boom, that's it. We're not doing it anymore.
Had to be a huge deal for the publishing world.
Yeah, it sent a signal across the industry that the legal risk around internships had suddenly become very real, right? So this big, Condé Nast is this big organization, and they're like, no more interns. And so everyone else in that publishing were like, whoa, obviously they know something, maybe we need to shut it down.
Wow. Man, I can't say I heard this. This was a gigantic deal. So it goes to the courts. What do the courts actually decide?
So the courts refined how these cases should be evaluated and introduced what we now call the primary beneficiary test, which we mentioned on this podcast numerous times.
Yes, right. And that basically asks one question: who benefits the most from an internship? The intern or the employer, correct?
Exactly, right? And there are several factors employees should think about when answering that question. First, everyone should clearly understand whether the internship is paid or unpaid from the start. In your advertisement, in your job postings, in your conversations in the interview.
Yeah, and second, the internship should look more like an educational experience than a job.
Yeah, and then the third thing that I always look at is the internship is stronger legally if it's connected to an academic program like receiving school credit, right? So I'm always telling people, are your interns associated with an intern program at a university, at a high school level, at a community college? That's going to give it some gravitas because they're going to be getting school credit for going there.
Yeah, I can remember, and we'll get into another factor here, but, I used to tell the folks, remember talking to the director of marketing at this one business company I worked for, and I said, okay, we're going to back into it. I'm not going to say, you want an intern, that's fine. You want an unpaid intern, that's fine. Let me tell you what it's going to look like.
Right.
I just painted the picture. I said, this is what it looks like. They literally can't do anything. They got to shadow you the whole time. They got to be in the meetings with you the whole time. They can't do they're not going to do your work. They're going to,
Well, right? And so back in the day, I think we all had the feeling like, if they're in a school, they're getting credit for them. We can put them to work. We can make them do the paperwork. We can make them do this thing. It's a learning experience. They're going to learn how to make copiers. They've never done that before, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the challenge. Becomes very like, I'm going to do this. And I work as, Chuck, I do a lot of nonprofit work.
Yeah.
Nonprofit people get involved because they're like, well, we'll just make them a volunteer. And I'm like, ooh.
Oh, yes, the volunteer thing.
Yeah, right? And so then it becomes, but they're doing a job. They're not volunteering for you. And then it becomes, okay, no, they have to be an employee.
Wow. That in itself sounds like a whole other HR story about volunteers and nonprofits and people volunteering their time instead of a job.
Yeah. In
So
fact, I'm preparing. This will be way after we release this, but I'm preparing next week to do my next 90-minute chapter. Chapter 4 we're up to in my HR for nonprofits class, and it's about compensation. It's about how do we classify our workers, right? And so we're going to get into some great things there as well. And so I love that we're having this conversation because it. Listen, wait, Chuck.
yeah.
Come here, come close.
What was that?
I sent to our newsletter.
Yeah.
Or people that get our newsletter, that group. I sent a whole thing about interns.
Yes, you did. It went out to all of our subscribers. Folks, we've got almost 10,000 subscribers on our newsletter. And if you're not on our newsletter, you're missing some pre-show and after-show type opportunities to learn and have fun and get educated too.
Yeah, absolutely. So check it out. Let us know. Just hit that send text button to us. That'll get to us, or send us an email. We'll add you to the list. All right. So there's another duration. Oh, another factor is duration, right? How long
Duration,
is
sure.
internship happening? Internship only lasts as long as the learning experience makes sense. If someone is still interning later during routine work, that starts to look like employment to me, right? So again, maybe a month, maybe a semester, right? And they're only working, maybe they're only coming in, 5 hours a week or 10 hours a week, right? And so it's not a job, it's there, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's in this, this next factor that the courts look at whether interns are replacing employees. And I got to tell you, that's usually what's happening. They don't want to pay someone. They don't want to hire someone. We don't have the budget. Let's bring in a free intern.
Right, and so that's a big one. If the organization would need to hire someone to do the work, if the intern weren't there, the intern would probably function as an employee, right? That's a really simple test. Like, if we take that person away, would somebody else have to do those responsibilities? And if the answer is yes, then there probably should be employee.
Yeah, and finally, internships should not come with the promise of a job at the end.
Yeah, but they kind of, right? I mean, they kind of goes unsaid a lot of the times. Like, well, we're going to do that. And then again, right? I know a lot of people that were interns and they got hired. I did. I got that theater I worked at. I got hired. They're like, hey, next year, after you graduate, do you want to come and work for us full time? And I'm like, I'm there. Right? They're kind of doing that, right? So again, internships are supposed to be about learning experience, not extended job auditions.
Yeah, so, all right, we've been talking about the Hollywood internship story. This is great. I really like that. I wonder if did we even cover that in our book? Or that sounds like a great checklist that we need to put together. Folks, we've got a lot of checklists in this book. Maybe we need to get that internship checklist in there. But if we had to summarize this right now for our listeners about interns and internships, where do you go, John? How do you want to bring it home?
So practical advice, right? And so, again, if you have an intern that feels like they're supporting the business, probably a payroll issue, right?
Yeah.
And so from a practical standpoint, here's what I recommend. Okay. Number one, I often recommend paying interns whenever possible, even when the law might allow an unpaid internship.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if your intern feels like they're learning the business, you're probably on the right track.
Yeah, it's going to open opportunities for the student who cannot afford to work for free, right? So think about those individuals, right? I think about this, and I remember somebody kind of reminded me of this the other day when they're like, John, not everyone can afford to be an intern.
Yeah.
Right? And you think, like, I don't think about that. I had luxury when I was growing up where I could afford to be an internship. I could live at my mom's house. I had a car already, right? They paid for the gas. I could get food at home. I didn't have any other bills to pay. And so a lot of people are not in that situation. So paying them makes sense. The second reason you want to pay them it reduces your legal risk.
Yep. Practical advice. Practical advice.
And then the third is it attracts stronger candidates, right? And so it brings the candidates in and kind of looking at that, and you're going to get those candidates who are like, oh yeah, I'm going to work there because I'm going to get some money.
Yeah, and so look, even if you pay, I guess, minimum wage, for your state, at least it keeps you legal. And hey, today's intern might be tomorrow's hire.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. And so interns can be an incredible, valuable experience for students, for organizations, but they need to be structured intentionally. They need to work through and go, okay, this is the way we're going to do it. This is the process. Every department. This is where that HR person becomes so valuable to an organization because they can structure it, they can run it, and it really becomes valuable in there.
Yeah, so if you're thinking of launching an internship program, ask one simple question, really. Are we creating a learning experience or just filling a staffing gap?
Yeah, because if it's the second one, Chuck, it's time to talk to payroll, right?
And perhaps an employment attorney.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts, Chuck, before we end this great podcast of ours today?
No, thanks for listening to the HR Stories podcast. Check out the HR Team of One on Facebook. That's our Facebook page. We also have the team at hrstories.com with all kind of other great info, and you can also go to amazon.com, check out the Ultimate Guide to HR Checklist Edition, and learn and know what John and I learn and know.
I'm not going to respond to that.
Oh, I thought you were. I thought you were going to. All right, folks, see ya. Okay, that's a good way to end it out. She can end it out. She can end it.
She wants. She's the producer.
Yeah, there you go. I wish there was booing here. So when you say, and then they did this, woo, boo. Okay.